Good morning and welcome to the news update at the Phil Project Planet Radio. This talk segment is going to have a sponsor and we will introduce that sponsor, but just get in the habit of doing these morning updates. It is July 26, 2017. I'm not going to touch on news topics, but what I am going to touch is on topics that might affect you and might actually have a real impact on you, and that's interpersonal relationships. And I like to invite some people into the talk segments. Beginning today, you might see that as a new change in our news morning updates and also talk segment. But this talk segment, we're going to discuss interpersonal relationships and why I think you can learn a lot from your core relationships, meaning the core being the basis of your family. So once we lay a foundation with our family, what happens when you deal with angry people outside of your home or outside the core? Because by today's standards, family has a different definition. You might have, adopted children, or if you've had children that are stepchildren, you basically know what to expect. There are limitations and things are, the standard in which your home operates from. But outside of that, if it's outside your norm, which I'd say most people know, once your kids are thrown out there, just be happy that your kids get home, right? And that's true. That's why I want to talk about the core, the family, because by today's standards, it could have a whole different definition. But whatever that is, by today's standards, because a lot of people are in relationships, they're, same-sex couples, etc. So there's no denying different people have different family systems. But outside of that, what happens when you leave your so-called nest? And what happens out there? Because there are a lot of unfair expectations, needs that are not met at home. And if you go out there, what do you expect? Well, let me say this. I had a couple experiences. I think it's really important because I know what my core family values are, and I know what works and doesn't work. And outside of that, if I notice a lot, and this is just a pattern with certain individuals, especially people that are very busy, they get into a habit of always pointing out my faults. And the thing is that I see them as very busy people that don't even take the time to slow down, and they put words in people's mouth. And I have to tell you, I've been around people like this a long time, and they make assumptions. And I don't know about you, but it's time for some of these people to slow down, slow their lives down. And I want to also speak to anybody who deals with angry people, because I had some experiences with some angry people, and we are going to open up about it. And let's start there, because there's probably a better way to warm this up, and it's not intended to be negative, but I'm pretty sure the way people are overly sensitive, it's getting to the point that where we need to start talking about it anyway. I'm tired of us worried about who we're offending. Okay, that's kind of the problem we're running into, is that you got a lot of people that will not face or take responsibility for themselves, and that's why they're offended. That's the way it is. And right now we're in a situation where if we don't keep the family structure intact, we are in real danger, because people don't get this, but that is the first and last thing to go. Okay? So when you think about positivity, encouragement, but that comes with also using wisdom and not being naive and not second guessing yourself, because that's the trap mentally and physically and spiritually. We need to all connect on different levels. So some of us are going to have if we have a strong relationship with our significant other, okay, most likely other things outside will just eventually fall together. That's just my belief, okay? And I believe my significant other is my relationship with God. Because without God in my life, a lot of things can't go right. I almost expect things to go wrong, okay? But there's a reason. There are people that are reasonable, who are willing and want to cooperate. And they do it on principle, not to please me, not to make themselves happy because they're beyond that. But when you deal with angry people, they're not satisfied with whatever you want to do. And the world doesn't wrap around them as the center of the universe. And having dealt with this person, it's not just me, but there are other individuals have had a problem with this one particular person. And they are so stubborn, so unwilling to cooperate, that I actually do not believe that these persons are that effective. And now I realize how far they've been doing this for almost 20 years. And they're not even related to us. We have to deal with them because of children that are related to them. And I'm indirectly involved in a matter right now with a family visitation rights. Okay. And I don't have children. And I was telling this girl at school, I don't even have children, and I'm exhausted from family court. Really, I had no idea what parents go through. I had no idea, because I don't have children. And that's not because I'm purposely trying to be misleading at all. But when you hear news on a regular basis, and it has an impact on you, and I don't mean to speak about things in general, because I'm not doing that on purpose at all. But sometimes it's like, you could only hear so much bad news. You need like a little bit of break in between. That's why I like to diverse on news topics. I want to talk about news stories that you hear in the news, then you hear about headline news, and then also prophecy news, because I think they're all interesting things that are going on. So I'll give you a clip here, clip here, clip here. I want you to have a little bit of a better view. I don't like to be this narrow-minded. I recognize that if you follow this news story according to the standard in which I believe America has been founded on, is Bible. Okay, the Bible plays a huge difference in how news is reported. Because if you just talk about bad news, okay, because I don't believe that any of us have the magic answer for a lot of the bigger problems, right? But when you pick apart these little stories, some people say, okay, there's a horrible local story right now here in Pittsburgh about a suicide murder case. Man murders his girlfriend and then commits suicide. And you hear stories like this over and over again. So, but you really get into what's really going on in the person's lives that led to that incident. You really get to the story, which I think some of us might, wow, that story actually has something of relevance. I haven't been able to do that. I haven't really been able to really dig away at some stories. So I'm going to pick apart a story about anger and why I think that some of these cases, depending on how far somebody takes their anger, it's obvious. It doesn't have to be, right now, this murder-suicide case, it doesn't have to be a boyfriend shooting his girlfriend. It could be a mother shooting somebody's aunt. You know what I mean? It could be a grandmother beating up someone else's daughter. There are things today that I see happening that if we're not careful, I don't know how far somebody will take their anger. To me, when you're angry, it's one thing. I express my anger. But there are some people, it's like they are the beginning and end of the anger. And we have to recognize that while we express our anger, in my situation yesterday, which I had an encounter at the courthouse, and this person has a history of being unwilling to be cooperative. And now the police were right there watching her do this. And we were in the courthouse, and I was just telling my friend, I'm just happy the police officer and the other advocates were with us at the time, because they're starting to see the same thing we've been talking about for years. And I was there not realizing that I was the only one that was representing a member of the family. And I'm thinking to myself, and this was just a total accident that this happened. But when we're in the room, and on a consistent basis, this person has not been willing to cooperate. On a consistent basis. For 20 years. And I don't even know the person that well. I mean, she seems to think she knows everything about us, though. And that's the problem. The focus has always been on other people. And I think, there's such a thing as you could be angry, but this, quote, righteous anger is unjustified. I see a lot of people who've raised money, who've done a lot of good things, who've really gone over and above, spent money they never had, and went over and above to help somebody, only to get that nasty treatment. I was like, it's not justified. And finally, some of us are recognizing our hard work, sincere, hard-working people. You need to stop being mad at yourself, because I saw the fruit of it. And it made me wonder, because I was getting my hair cut and I was doing my nails, and it really gave me the boost I need. And I don't know about you, if you've ever been through a devastating family crisis, it had a ripple effect. And I found some encouraging words and about how to encourage each other, because in a world where people just want to pound away at all your faults, that's when you need to be encouraging. And the moral of the story is that a lot of people go out of their way who try to do nice things, end up they actually get pushed away the most. It's always the nicer people that go out of the way to be encouraging or send thoughtful messages or kind words that don't get the recognition they deserve. So that leads me to why I had this emotional moment, and I'm so happy that I went from an unhappy experience to a happier experience, because it really does depend on, you have to almost take your focus off these negative people. You literally have, and I did it, and I thank God I did it, and it's called Gershel therapy, but I had to refocus. And if anybody knows anything about a traumatic experience, you apply Gershel therapy techniques and EMDR. And one of the things I'm learning more and more is that we got to put this thing into application. And because we deal with people who have PTSD and trauma, there are things we have to do during the daytime. Like, we're not good daytime people. And if you deal with somebody that's in a PTSD clinic, and that's what this is we talk about topics that matter to those who suffer from PTSD as well. But in the early morning, everyone knows that I'm going to be up early, like 3-4 o'clock in the morning is the norm. And we get our break in between, then we start our day around like 9 or 10. But, we do have a weird schedule, but weird schedule isn't as bad as, I mean, my normal bedtime is probably like 9 o'clock anyway. So for me to be up too late, I mean, I crashed at like, I don't know, I think it was like, I can't remember what time it crashed last night. I mean, we work, we're going. We're trying to make this one happen. It's not working like that. I don't know that anyone, going back to where we started, our core principles, our core values, we got to recharge our battery in the morning, get our coffee, get the breakfast going, get things going early in the morning. Because by the time we head out to get things done, I hope by the time before we walk out of the house, we've got our breakfast in, we had, a talk segment in, we've got rest, but most of us don't start our workday till like 10:30. At least on my schedule, we don't start. And that's why I have a talk show, because we're only early morning, and then the rest of the day, we really don't plan anything. And I usually I used to do these other broadcasts. I couldn't do it anymore. And we have to make changes all the time. So I don't expect anybody to get this right. In fact, I'm pretty sure that most people by this point are probably like, what's the point in talking about all this? The point is that our lives are constantly changing. We're always making new changes. I'm not going to settle for all this other stuff until we're ready to settle. But right now, I'm not going to settle for the bad behavior. I'm just not. And after yesterday's experience and knowing what families go through and how hard it is to get a family from crisis to back to order, it just goes to show you that when your family's been through an ordeal, the last thing I want to be listened to is somebody who's not going to cooperate. And I have to tell you, I I can't go in, if I was a social worker, I can't go in there with people that aren't willing to cooperate. No, that's not to say they won't cooperate with other people. They go out of the way to be unwilling. And I don't know that everybody wants to deal with people like that. So I really hope and pray for the coordinators and those people that work with them and the advocates that they will be successful where we couldn't. And that's perfectly fine, because I walked out of the courthouse yesterday and I was completely okay with that. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this anyway. It's no longer a healthy situation for me. It's no longer healthy for the people around me. We have been through enough, and we've done enough. We've helped a lot. And to get that kind of negative attitude after all the grueling stuff that some of us have been through, we just simply had to wipe our hands of it and move on. And when I talk to my brother or people in my family about it, I think that they too sense the same thing. I mean, this has been egregious. I mean, when your family's been through an ordeal and it seems like the only people that get the recognition, it's unacceptable is what it is. And I hope that anyone that's ever had a family member in a major car accident and have to deal with the unnerving comments that were made towards me or about my relatives and my family, I hope you know we were the ones that raised money for my nephew on GoFundMe. We were the ones were doing all this work, going to Permanis, and we were successful. The thing is, I can see why we didn't succeed. It is the kind of people that were around us. And I'm not going to let our accomplishments, I'm not going to let all the things that we accomplished be sabotaged because of the attitudes and negative people that were around. And the reason a lot of people don't succeed is because of the people around them. Okay? So if you have people out that are by far narcissistic people, I mean, there's not one thing we could have said that would have made a difference towards this person and persons like her. Narcissism is the problem. I recognize a lot of us have been victims, didn't even know we were. Okay? And I'm looking at some of the behaviors, and I'm looking at how unhappy some of the people are around me. And you got to look at the checklist. If you're not feeling encouraged, then identify that. Let's talk about why you feel so discouraged or who you're dealing with. And once you articulate, once you understand that, you're free. The truth will set you free. The Lord said, when you identify something like that, when the truth is revealed to you, the truth will set you free. And I don't know about you, but there's something very liberating when you've not known an answer or a question. You ever been wanting to know something so much and not got the answer? And then once you get the answer, it's like that aha moment. Everyone is like, wow, this is amazing. All of a sudden, you have a whole new appreciation for things. And then it's the same thing with wine. Some people are like, they learn something and they become experts at it. Because once you have that aha moment, a new interest is created. Like wine connoisseurs. The reason so many people have they become very skilled wine connoisseurs is because they learned about the process and they find out, wow, this process is very unique. The fermentation, and then from the picking of the grape to the point of it being pressed. And it's a very interesting story when you think of what our problems are like. It's like a wine press. We've been squeezed. And anyone knows that if you put a wineskin on, you can't reskin it that way. And that's kind of like we got some skin in the game. And when I think about life, it's kind of like we've been squeezed from both ends. If your bills are coming in, but what will it produce? When we're squeezed at both ends, what is that going to produce? Is that going to produce good qualities? Well, when you're picking out certain grapes and you're looking at the wine process, it'll take all the toxins out, meaning it's going to be pressed through and it's going to remove all the things you don't need. I think that's kind of the squeeze that's on us. And what I hope and pray, our problems produce perseverance, good character, manners, better attitude, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm responsible for what goes on in this channel. And if I'm spreading too much negativity and not giving it a healthy balance and giving people some nurturing, Because I think the word is a very nurturing part of our lives. I mean, I know, and you know, if you know anything about Scripture, it is meant to feed us spiritually. And I think that if we're not growing and outgrowing some of our learned behaviors, it's going to be very hard to deal with a public that is negative and unhappy. And one of the things I learned about something that I think a lot of people might know about jobs and careers. One thing is to have a job. Most people have the mindset of a job. But when you have a career, you're working at different aspects of career. You're not just stuck in a routine. And I think a lot of people are stuck there with their careers. They're starting to look at it as more of a job. When you start looking at your career as a job, you're not going to make money, you're not going to be as flexible, and you're going to be pretty much complaining. And the people that complain have the mindset of a job. What that person needs to do is they need to start to think about their job as a career, and there's a big difference. And I'll lay at that in the next segment, because there's some people that have gotten to this rut or routine. And, you know, I know the old saying is called stuck like Chuck. Some of you have been stuck like Chuck, so you're going to want to stay tuned to the second segment. And I might even touch on some things here in a moment, but I don't want to see people stuck. And the whole thing about being truthful and honest, I hope people are reasonable enough to understand there's a time and a place to say things. And you got to just be careful what you say, when you say it. Wait till the right time. If you're a little bit even not sure about something, that's the time to kind of wait. I always say, if you don't have peace about a decision, don't make a decision. Sometimes you got to sit on it and just tell your friends and family, just wait. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Not this time. Get in the habit of doing these things. Just let's wait on that. I got things to do, so do you. We'll talk about that another time. If it comes up again and you're ready to talk about it, then go ahead. But a lot of people, they're rushing through life and they got to slow down. Making the assumption that some of us know something. Sometimes you might have to explain things 2 or 3 times. A lot of us have hectic lives too, okay? And I'm around people that they think they're the only ones that are busy, okay? The reason we start our day so early is because we are busy. But as for angry people, my prayer is any of you deal with angry people like this, all you can do is pray for them. I don't think anybody wants to be around this every day, all day. I mean, it's unfortunate. I came from such a bad situation, so I don't want to live that way. I mean, I used to be a very angry person too. I get angry, but I don't stay angry. That's the difference. You can be angry, but you can't stay angry. And I just see this person every time I see the same people. It's like they're always angry. So you can be angry, but I don't know how helpful it is to stay angry, though. Most of the people that have disease and illness are the most angry people. Bitter and anger. Angry one thing, bitter is another. I take it back, bitter. And you don't want to stay bitter. It won't produce anything healthy in your life over a period of time. By staying bitter, it has an effect. It might not right now initially, but over time it does. So I look at this. All of us need to be a little bit more, not so worried about offending people. Just say, when we talk about something, we just got to be very careful how we say it, okay, and when we say it. But in the case of somebody that's angry and pissed off, they don't care about that stuff, okay? I mean, they're not looking for the best way to be encouraging to their adversarial friends. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, they're not looking up for the next quote to be positive to others. And if they are, I applaud them. Good. That's a step in the right direction. I'm not trying to be negative at all. I'm like, good for you. That's good for you. You got to apply it, though. It's one thing to put out nice quotes, but you got to put it into application. I think there are a lot of people have their heart is in the right place, but they need to go a little further than just wording it. They need to show in their actions that they're trying to be better people. I don't care how good looking and attractive you are. if you go out of your way to be, if your actions always speak to others is that you're going out of your way to be ignorant or disrespectful, it's on you. It's a reflection on you. It's not a reflection on me. Your actions won't affect me one way or the other. I just recognize that those are character skills that are in your life. That's where you're at. And as far as I'm concerned, I can rise above attitudes and opinions, because at the end of the day, we all got other things to do in our lives. And we're not going to stay there wondering when you'll come around, when you'll talk it out. We got to move on, okay? And we're moving on to the next thing. And we got other things to do. We got our focus. And as far as I'm concerned, there are people that you're going to run into throughout the day that you're just simply not going to be able to help them. And it's okay. You're not actually supposed to help anybody or do anything for somebody that's not willing to work with you. So it's time to move forward and move on to the next thing. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. I hope everyone has a great day. We will pick up on topics about the difference between having a goal and a career. And I think it'll help people who have been stuck for a while get unstuck. Because we don't want to be like stuck like Chuck, okay? And we want to be encouraging to those around us. And I hope that all of you have a great, fantastic day.